And Norman Borlaug was on faculty here late in his career in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences here at Texas A&M University. He also won the Nobel Peace Prize for his development of wheat varieties. And his comment was, the first essential component of social justice is adequate food for all mankind. A lot of the times our uprisings around the world are tied to hunger in many cases and just overall poverty. And so food is an important part of it. And we've got to continue to develop ways to increase the efficiency and the sustainability of our food supply, and utilizing technology and advancements in genetics and other technology to safely do that and to safely feed the world is important. At the same time, I think we need to embrace food production and also tell our story more. And that's probably one of the challenges we faced in agriculture is we haven't told our story enough. We hadn't really communicated to the consumers of today, which are 2, 3, and maybe 4 generations removed from production agriculture. They don't know how food is grown. And that's where things like community gardens and local gardens. This is a garden, picture of a garden at our house during the summertime. And it's there. One, my wife likes a garden, so we're going to have a garden. But the other factor is I think it's important for our 2 boys to learn about food production and where it comes from. We produce cattle, but I think it's important for them to understand produce and things like that and how it's produced and the challenges that go with it. And that's where these community gardens and local gardens, they come into play. They're able to educate the consumers on the challenges of raising food. And they also provide a little bit of product as well. But it's going to be hard to feed a population of 17 million in New York City area based off of rooftop gardens. We've got to have some common sense approach to that. And I think that's some things we all have to work together instead of beating each other up. And so the thing is, if consumers want brown eggs, they sell them brown eggs, but don't market them as brown eggs and not anti-white eggs. Promote the product that you have. Don't beat down the other industry as well. Sell them the experience of it. Tell the story about it. Again, natural and organic programs, we're going to talk about those, or Dr. Machen is, in a lecture after this one, and he's going to go into detail about the different natural and organic programs that are available and some of the qualifications of those programs. I did want to talk to you a little bit about and go into a little more detail on how you could market beef. You could market into those niche programs of the natural and organic, based off of just selling the beef live, or you could sell it as animal or shares of the animal. Another little niche market is simply freezer beef. You know, the cattle are raised conventionally. They get grain. They're treated all the same way as we would in conventional agriculture, but they're raised locally on a ranch rather than raised in a feed yard. Again, are we as efficient as the feed yard by doing that? And the answer is no. But there is a little bit of mystique behind that, and some consumers like it, the locally grown and raised product. And so with that, we term them sometimes freezer beef. The freezer beef term is coined because a lot of times ranchers will keep one steer, finish it out, and make it freezer beef. All right, they're putting that beef in the freezer for the next year. You tell them a story with that. The thing is, as a producer, you cannot sell beef without it being state or federally inspected. It's got to be state inspected if it stays within the state, federally inspected if it crosses the state lines. You can sell the live animal though, or shares, and then the customer pays for the processing. And that is a very effective way of doing it because a lot of times these small mom-pop custom processing plants or little packing plants do not have inspectors there, USDA or state inspectors there in those particular plants. And so with that, you can still, the consumer can buy an animal or part of that animal from you, then they pay for the custom processing. They come and they pick up their meat from that particular animal, and that works exceptionally well. Some things to think about, and this slide's from Dr. Griffin here. Middle meats carry the load. That's where about 40% of the value is from the middle meats, the higher end meats, the tenderloins, the top sirloin, ribeye roll, the strip loins. That's where our steaks are going to come from right there. And they're about 40% of the carcass value, but a very smaller percentage of the total carcass. So you got to figure out how to sell everything else. You got to sell more round steaks. You got to sell more trim. You got to get creative in your marketing of those cannibals. So the question is it better to sell the live animal or market it into the meat? The live animal is going to be the easiest method. Your liability is more limited because, again, you've got to make sure you're producing an animal that when it makes it to the packer level, it is safe and there's no residues, nothing in them. When you get past that point, you've got to think about, okay, how do I protect the integrity of that food and the food safety from when that animal is harvested to when it's delivered to the consumer? You increase your liability when you do that. And so if you're selling them live, again, the customer pays for the processing. You've got more access to plants, local plants. You're not stuck with the less desirable and lower value cuts. And for example, Akiushi or certified Angus beef hot dogs. Again, those two branded beef programs are trying to add value to the trimmings and find a way to market those cattle. And that's what you'll have to do if you're marketing the meat product. You've got to market it all. If you're selling in the beef, really the big advantage is more profit potential if you can successfully market all the products from the carcass. That's the big advantage of selling it in the meat.